This Organized Chaos video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. Opening up, we will be doing a Critical Drinker, look at a couple of recent videos. We'll see how that goes. I know, just looking at these, like, the Andor one might be okay. Like, it might actually be an okay review. He'll definitely throw some cringe in there, but we'll see. I'm interested what he'll say about Avatar 2, because Avatar 2, I don't think it's on track to be a flop at all. So I guess we can see what he says. I'm certain he's going to have some sort of spin on the Bob Chapek thing. That could be an interesting video. And interesting, I mean bad. I mean, not good. Let's see. Let's see. There's the Andor one, the Avatar one, and the Bob Chapek one. Anybody have any votes for which one we dive into first? And kind of my plan is just kind of, we'll start out with Critical Drinker. We'll probably do that for about an hour, and then we'll move on to just random request. And yes, Resident Justice, I do want to be it's good to be a positive voice because there's not enough. Andor? Okay, let's see what Andor, and then we'll move on to Bob Chapek.
Andor is pretty fucking good. It's intelligently written, well acted, complex, mature, patient, gritty, grounded and compelling. Which makes it kind of a shame that absolutely nobody seems to give a shit about it. It truly is the best show at the worst possible time. I mean, I guess track records count for a lot when it comes to audience loyalty, and as far as Star Wars TV shows go, Disney doesn't have a whole lot to be proud about these days. Their previous efforts ranged from barely tolerable to depressingly amateurish to laughably bad, shamelessly squandering popular characters and blatantly contradicting previous events just to generate some cheap marketing hype. And coming
Yep, we gotta take some digs in. We have to talk about other things that are negative in our positive review.
at the tail end of that cavalcade of shittiness with a story that's basically a prequel to a prequel about the origins of a not particularly complex character from a not particularly memorable movie, Andor had pretty much everything going against it. It was a show that felt like it was set up to fail right from the start. And yet, I've always had a bit of a thing for underdogs. Movies and shows that turn out way better than they have any right to, because the people behind them actually put in the work to produce the best possible product they could. And to be honest, I can't think of a better example of this than Andor. I can confidently say that this is far and away the best TV show that Disney have ever put out. And yeah, I know that's a bit like saying, this kebab only gave me explosive diarrhea for 2 days instead of 3, but I guess sometimes you have to play the hand that you're dealt in life. And Andor was dealt a bad one. But hey, it played it well. The story picks up with Cassian Andor, who at this point is still a civilian looking for his missing sister on some grimy industrial planet at the ass end of nowhere. Unfortunately, he soon runs...
I mean, he's got a little cringe here and there, but overall, I'm agreeing. It's a weird thing about Critical Drinker. He occasionally does a positive review and it will be fine. It's just the fact that he feeds into this negative environment drives me nuts.
...a file of 2 corrupt security men and ends up having to kill them in self-defense. Fleeing the scene, he returns to his home planet and soon becomes caught up in a black market scheme to sell expensive technology stolen from an Imperial research facility. Meanwhile, the murders have triggered a police investigation from an overzealous inspector who eventually tracks Andor back to his home planet and shows up just as he's about to sell the technology to a weapons dealer who's actually a rebel leader working undercover. Needless to say, all kinds of shenanigans go down and eventually Andor ends up working for the rebels to strike the first real blow.
Nothing but media. Well, this is better, but very cliche. His script could have been written by a bot. Yeah, no, it does read like that a lot. Yeah.
Blow against the Empire. But the more emboldened the rebels become, the more determined the Empire are to hunt them down, led by an ambitious young intelligence officer that's out to make a name for herself. And while all this shit's going down, rebels simply...
So is this just gonna be a recap? Is he just gonna recap the... Let's see. I'm gonna skip ahead. If you haven't seen Andor, watch Andor. It's great. But is he just doing recaps?
...ready to reveal it. In short, this isn't the kind of mindless, pointless, low-effort content that Disney Star Wars has been shitting out for the past couple of years, designed to amuse you with bright colours and explosions on those rare occasions when you choose to look up from your phone and actually pay attention. It's a smart, methodical, carefully constructed story written by people who actually seem to care about what they're doing, performed by actors who are taking their work seriously, and shot by directors with actual creativity and artistic flair. Remember shows like Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi that looked like they'd been shot on like 2 sound stages with everything else filled in by green screen? Well, Andor is a very different beast. The environments, the set design, the clothes, all of...
You don't have to take shots at other stuff when you review something. As a general rule, you don't. I feel like he just finds out every opportunity. Oh, remember Obi-Wan?
Of it looks real, lived in,
Fun fact, I liked Obi-Wan, so...
believable and varied. Whether you're seeing weary workers trudging through a junkyard at the end of a long shift, or senators hosting lavish dinner parties on Coruscant, or intelligence officers toiling away in sleek clinical office buildings, every scene in this show just looks great. It really seems like a lot of thought and effort's gone into it. The world of Andor is so far removed from the cartoonish, throwaway nonsense of modern Star Wars that it's almost possible to forget they exist in the same universe. This is Star Wars viewed through the eyes of average Imperial citizens living on bleak industrial worlds and backwater outposts. There's no epic lightsaber battles or grand fleet engagements here. It's gritty, grounded, low-level conflict, and there's a lot of emphasis on the day-to-day reality of life for all of the characters involved. The Empire don't just conveniently show up with TIE fighters and stormtroopers whenever the script wants some disposable bad guys to kill off. Instead, we get to see them doing actual investigation work, analysing data, following up on leads, testing theories, bouncing ideas and suggestions off each other, even competing to gain success and curry favour with superiors. And the result? Well, they're actually smart and dangerous again. They're ruthless and cunning and highly motivated, and they command enormous power, but even they can't be everywhere all at once. They have to decide how best to allocate limited resources, and committing to military action is a big decision that isn't taken lightly. Basically, they feel like a real government working in a real environment. It's a world where actions have serious consequences, where the stakes are all too real, and important decisions carry genuine weight. Like, the murder of 2 low-ranking security officers on an obscure planet is the kind of thing that most Star Wars shows would brush right over and never think about again. But here it becomes a major plot point that sets in motion a life-changing series of events for multiple characters. When a high-ranking senator makes the decision to turn against the Empire, or a rebel leader has to make the go, no-go decision on a dangerous mission, you actually feel the significance of the moment. There's stakes, there's danger, there's personal risk. These people all think and act like actual believable humans, and holy shit, it's such a weird culture shock after the forgettable cardboard cutouts we've seen up until now. The result is that it's infinitely easier to get invested in them, and everything that happens to them carries so much more weight as a result. Now, all of this being said, there are still flaws to Andor, and it would be wrong not to mention them here. The first and most obvious issue is the pacing. Yeah, I know other people have mentioned this, so I'm not going to labour the point here, but Andor sometimes burns a little too slowly for its own goods. The show is roughly split into a series of 3-episode mini-arcs, where the first 2 are there to establish the stakes and objectives.
I mean, that'd be very roughly, because it was actually 3-3-4-2. I like the pace. I like the slower pace. It is a slower pace, but I like it because it just feels more natural.
And the third puts it all into action. But most...
Oh, hey, Alex, I didn't see you in there. Biggest gripe with Andor is the lack of alien... They have some alien characters, especially towards the end. I guess not a ton, but yeah.
The time, those first 2 could be condensed into one without losing a huge amount of narrative depth. The result is the story can sometimes progress frustratingly slowly. Also, Cassian Andor himself isn't exactly the most charismatic protagonist ever, and I can't say I was blown away by Diego Luna's performance either.
Yeah, I thought he was very good. I was much more invested in Andor in this series than I ever was in Rogue One, because in Rogue One I thought he was forgettable.
What's your favourite facial expression? Bored, miserable, or bored miserable? He's kind of a passive observer for a lot of the season, blown wherever the plot takes him, but to be fair, at least the script never tries to undermine or belittle him. He's pretty resourceful and ruthless where
I like that Nothing But Me. Almost like any studio can make stuff you like and stuff you don't like. And it isn't a big conspiracy. Yeah, isn't that weird? That's weird, right?
He has to be, but there's no denying that he sometimes feels a bit lost amongst a much larger and more interesting cast of characters. Also, while Andor is nowhere near as obnoxious as other Star Wars shows when it comes to identity politics, you can...
You're doing so well overall. You got some cringe, but why you gotta do this, man?
Definitely feel the Kathleen Kennedy influence at times.
The Kathleen Kennedy influence at times. I swear, like, these guys will talk about, oh, Kathleen Kennedy, she was involved with a lot of movies, but, it's not like she wrote them or directed them. Not like she really did anything. And then all of a sudden, like, whenever they want to dish on Star Wars, oh, she's definitely influencing the script at this time. It's like, God, pick a fucking lane. Either she's not doing anything, or she's, like, fucking secretly writing everything. Jesus.
The tired, predictable trope of the strong, capable female character quietly directing and fixing things behind the scenes
So he didn't like Mon Mothma, who in Star Wars canon has always been a major player in the rebellion. And, like, he's gonna complain because she was a major player in the rebellion. Oh my god. Fuck.
Crops up a little too often, and if I'm honest, you could probably have cut one or two of them out of the story without losing too much. But hey, at least they're not the ridiculous...
Why? When the characters are well done, why are you complaining? Why is it, oh, there's too many female characters? What was his exact line there?
Female character... of the strong, capable female character
trope of the strong, capable female character. Can you give me a complaint besides the trope of the strong, capable female character? Like, do you think they're poorly written? Like, Jesus. I hate this.
without losing too much. But hey, at least they're not the ridiculous Mary Sues we've seen in other Star Wars projects.
Well, if they're not Mary Sues, then what's your issue? And let's face it, Rey is not a Mary Sue. I hate to break it to you guys. She's not.
They're played by talented actresses for a change, and they actually have realistic limitations and shortcomings.
Yes, Alex, even before the EU, you understood Mothma was somebody important. Yeah, she was a leader in the rebellion as established in Return of the Jedi. She is somebody important. So, like, complaining, oh, they have too many women here. Come on.
Like, when one of them gets cornered by a group of security guards, I was bracing myself for another ridiculous girl boss moment where she beats all of them single-handed, courtesy of some forgiving camera angles and some very accommodating stuntmen. But nope, she just gets taken down and arrested, and that's it. Holy shit, it's almost like this show was written with realism and story consistency in mind, instead of massaging the producer's ego and pushing the message.
What is the message, dude? Please, I'm begging you, tell me what the message is. You were going so well with this video. Like, it wasn't perfect, but it's like, okay, I could get like, if Critical Drinker did more stuff like this, I could get behind it. And now you're just, oh, we gotta get more cringe. We don't have enough cringe in this. We need to drop some cringe. We know the message. Ugh. And in this case, the message is just, women are capable human beings, capable of doing things. What a message.
The other positive is that all of these strong female characters are generally balanced out by strong, capable male characters. Again, where previous Star Wars shows and movies set out to portray men as incompetent, emotional, laughable morons to be easily outwitted and beaten, and...
You think Rey isn't a Mary Sue, really? Yeah, I have seen decent arguments that you could argue from The Force Awakens exclusively. You could make a Mary Sue argument for Rey. That's about it. Last Jedi, she's pretty much a failure throughout that. Well, she's not a failure with Luke, but she is absolutely a failure with Kylo Ren. Yeah, Rey's not a Mary Sue. Now, you could argue you don't think she's the best written character. She's definitely inconsistent. That's true. But Mary Sue, I don't think... No, that she's not.
Andor actually dares to portray them as smart, ruthless, capable, and savvy in their own rights. Wow, wonders will never cease. Ultimately, Andor really feels like the best show that Disney have produced that had the rotten luck of coming along at the worst possible time. Like, if this had come out in the wake of Rogue One, when the character was still fresh in people's minds, or it had been the show to lead the TV charge on Disney Plus instead of all the shite we actually got, then I think it would have done one.
They would never lead the TV charge with Andor. They end up doing it with Mandalorian? Yeah, Mandalorian was kind of a stretch too, but like just the Boba Fett armor I think is memorable enough that they are willing to risk it. But you want something that will stick in people's minds. I'm sorry, Andor is a great show, but like a spin-off to one of the least popular characters in Rogue One is not gonna be a flagship show. It just isn't.
For its success and the Star Wars brand in general. It's a really good example of what a Star Wars show can and should be with all that extra screen time to play with. Deep, narratively rich, thoughtful, mature and methodical, giving us a much deeper insight into the world that it's part of. But at this point, it feels more like the restaurant on the Titanic deciding to revamp its menu while the ship's fucking sinking. The damage has already been done. The fans that this show could have appealed.
Meanwhile, Star Wars is making lots of money, so they're making money on their IP. So what do you want?
To have already jumped ship.
I haven't seen Bad Batch, but yeah, I am looking forward to Mandalorian Season 3 a lot, Alex.
And it's just not...
Oh, Mikael, I see you in there. You have a new profile on Discord. We can get that set up after stream.
Big enough or loud enough to win them back. Ah well, sadly the world of entertainment doesn't turn on what ifs, maybes and if onlys. Disney had their shot to make Star Wars a success and they blew it harder than Tatiana after 2 lines of Colombian marching powder. So I guess...
Okay, jeez, okay.
In the end, you get what you fucking deserve. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
So Andor was a good show, but it failed because I don't like Disney Star Wars. Cool. You see, overall, that video could have been a lot worse, but it's still definitely, he had to squeeze some cringe in there. He couldn't just make a flat-out good video, and that's annoying.
They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't.
Do you enjoy pain?
Pain don't hurt.